What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope everybody had an awesome Easter holiday yesterday. Hope you've been enjoying time with family and enjoying the last day of spring break today. So as always, we'll start with thankfulness. What are you thankful for today? Leave me a note in the comments and let me know. Today, I am thankful for new life in Christ. Have a young friend who I just found out a couple of days ago, gave his life to Christ on Good Friday, and so excited about that. So thankful for that. Thankful for God working in his life to make that happen. Thankful for Jesus' sacrifice and the resurrection that makes all that possible. For what it's worth, also really thankful for one more day of spring break for the kids and enjoying time together there. So let me know in the comments what you're thankful for today. I want to share those together and trying to do a better reading those and sharing those publicly as we're doing this. So anyway, type something in. Let me know. So thankfulness done. Quarter teen games. Let's talk. So last time our quarter teen game question had to do with the Titanic. Friday was the anniversary of the launch of the Titanic on its maiden voyage. Asked how many people were on board. So we need to talk about this because I have never specifically said anything, but I'm going to have to now. When I ask these questions, the game is to guess. The game is not to look it up. Okay? So when I ask the questions, put your guess in, not your Google. All right? So I didn't say that specifically, so I can't really say it didn't count. But so I'm going to give out 2 quarters for that one. All right. My son, who I honestly thought would maybe know a pretty good guess anyway, decided to look it up. The correct answer was 2,208. So he gets one. Technically, he was the closest. But I'm going to give one of the next closest who didn't look it up. And that was Alec at a guess of 2,229. Had a lot of guesses. Most of them were right in that range. A lot of them were really, really close. So Alec gets a quarter for that as well. So we'll do a little follow-up on that. Today's quarter teen game question, how many people can the largest cruise ship now hold? So if the largest cruise ship by capacity sailed out today, full capacity with passengers and crew, how many people can the biggest one now hold? So let me know your guesses. You can leave them in the comment. You can text me, leave a comment on the video after, whatever. Let me know what you think. What's the capacity of the biggest one now? Biggest capacity of a cruise ship now. All right. All right. Let's move on. Fruit of the Spirit. Today we are up to gentleness. And this is an interesting one because I think this is a word that maybe we misunderstand, at least in terms of how the Bible uses it and how Paul uses it when he gives us the fruit of the Spirit, right? So we've got this list of 9 things. We're up to the 8th one in gentleness. What does he mean when he says gentleness? I think we tend to think of gentleness as sort of weakness, as sort of this sissy thing. I think that's probably especially true for guys. Gentleness is not necessarily viewed as a good thing, but it must be, at least in the way that Paul is talking about it, because he wants us to exhibit that. He considers that a quality of God and something that we need to imitate, that we need to exhibit in our lives. And so how do we do that? And if it's different than what we think of, how so? So first of all, the word that he uses can actually be translated a couple of different ways. It can obviously mean gentleness, which is how we see it translated here. Other places in the New Testament, sometimes we also see it translated as humility. Sometimes we also see it translated as meekness. The word really has the idea of strength, but strength under control. Okay, so I want to look at a couple of verses that I think can help us get a picture of that. That it's about strength and us being strong, but maybe not using all of our strength so that we can benefit other people. Sometimes we have to rein in our strength rein in whatever power we have, and not dominate others. Okay, we'll talk more about specifics about what that can look like. But I want to read a verse from the book of Psalms. Okay, this is from Psalm chapter 18. Little context: David is thanking God for helping him to overcome his enemies. Right, and he talks a lot in this psalm about the strength, the power of God that helped rescue him. Okay, but Psalm 18:35 says this: "You have given me the shield of your salvation, and your right hand supported me, and your gentleness made me great." Number one, that's just a really interesting phrase to me. Your gentleness made me great. There's probably a lot we could dig into with that, but the big point I want us to see here, number one, God is described as gentle. So it must not be a bad thing or a weak thing. He's described as gentle in a chapter where the whole thing is about God's strength and power and how he uses that to rescue David. So I want us to know that gentleness does not mean weakness, but it's strength. But how are we using that strength to benefit other people? So there's also some other verses that I sort of want to just run through real quick that talk about this. So 1 Peter 3:15 talks about that we always need to be prepared to give a reason for the hope that we have. And then Paul goes on to say, yet do it with gentleness and respect. 2 Timothy 2:25 talks about an elder, a leader in a church, correcting his opponents with gentleness. And Galatians 6:1 says that we should restore a brother or sister who is in sin in gentleness. And so all three of these to me kind of have this same idea that when we're talking with someone, we're discussing with someone, maybe there's a disagreement, maybe we're in authority over someone and we need to come down with some correction. We need to do that with a spirit of gentleness, which can be tough. Sometimes we want to just come in guns blazing and tell them what they need to hear. And there's times where we need to rein back on that and offer some gentleness in the way we approach that. So let me give you a couple analogies of what that doesn't look like and what that does look like, okay? A bad example. When I was growing up, I loved playing sports all the time. Had two younger brothers, wanted them to come outside and play sports with me. We could do it together. Middle brother, not interested in sports stuff at all. Youngest brother, very interested in sports, but 4 years younger than me. And so wasn't really all that interested in coming outside and playing sports with me because it was kind of a mismatch because there was such an age gap. So I would beg and beg and beg, come outside, let's go play basketball. Come on, it's gonna be easy, it's gonna be fun, let's play some basketball together. He'd finally cave, he'd finally give in, we'd go outside and I would destroy him. Swatting balls back in his faces, whatever. That was a terrible example of gentleness. Let me give you a better example and show you why I mean that. Sometimes Lucy and I like to wrestle and just goof around, messing around in the living room. And sometimes, as we're wrestling, she comes to sort of tackle me and she ends up on top, right? Now, does that make me any less strong? No. Does that make me any less of a man? No. I don't prove my strength by crushing the snot out of my 10-year-old daughter wrestling in the living room. No, I don't prove anything by that. But I can make it fun for her and we can enjoy it together by me having the strength I have, but reining it in for the sake of everybody, right? I should have done that with my brother. If I could have reined in more, we could have played for a long time and had a great time together. I was a jerk and I didn't do that. So moral of the story, don't be like high school Pastor Mike, right? So what does that look like for us, okay? Maybe you're playing sports. Maybe you're playing video games with someone and you are way better than them at that. You don't have to be way better than them at that every single time you do it. Maybe there's times where, I'm not saying you go easy that you're like, oh, I don't really care, but make it fun for everybody, right? We don't have to prove anything to ourselves. That doesn't make us, if you're really good at a certain video game and you're playing someone who's not, that doesn't make you a lesser player to not win every single time, right? So have some humility and share with everybody. There's times where maybe we're in an argument and we need to bite our tongue so that we're not coming off too harsh or too strong. Rein it in, right? Maybe there's times where you need to be correcting someone. If you're younger, that's probably not happening a lot, but maybe there's times where maybe you're babysitting. Maybe you're helping out with younger siblings and you need to say something to correct something. There's a tendency as older siblings to want to just put them in their place, right? Gentleness doesn't do that. Gentleness says what needs to be said, but does it in a loving and kind and humble way that's not about me dominating. It's about truth and love and setting things right in a good and proper way. So I hope that helps give us a picture of what gentleness looks like and a way that we can put that into practice in our lives. Again, it's not weakness, it's strength, but it's using it right for the good of others. So anyway, just checking out comments real quick. I'm seeing a couple of comments. I'm seeing a few guesses for our cruise ship questions. So keep hitting me up with those. When we check in again Wednesday, I want to hear what you guys are thankful for, all right? So we'll check in again Wednesday afternoon at 3. Don't forget about our Zoom meeting Wednesday night. I love you guys. We'll see you again Wednesday. Bye.